Top 5 SEC games heading into the 2026 college football season. Which games am I looking forward to the most at this point before the season even starts? The 9-game conference schedule is going to give us 12 additional games to choose from, which is great from a fan perspective. We're going to be watching more meaningful football. I absolutely love that. But I do have one criteria in how I'm choosing these games, and that is if a team shows up at all within the list, they can't show up in a different game. So I can't choose 2 games that LSU is in. I can't choose 2 games that Alabama or Georgia are in, which severely shrinks the pool of games that I'm going to be able to choose. Essentially, I have to find the best game or the best combination of each team. And because of that, I have some honorable mentions here, because these honorable mentions, they all show up elsewhere within this list. But they're all games that I think are going to be ones that we're looking forward to throughout the season. So, starting with the honorable mentions. First is going to be Week 4, Texas A&M at LSU. At this point in the season, this is going to be A&M's biggest test, Mike Elko's biggest test, heading into Death Valley, where LSU has already been tested. They've already played Clemson in Week 1. They've already played at Ole Miss in Week 3. If they've dropped either of those games, LSU is going to be in dire straits, because this is a win or else type of game. There's no way that they start the season 2-2, let's say, and then they finish the season, what would that be, 8-0, just to be able to get into the playoffs. I think if they start the season 2-2, they severely underperform compared to what their expectations are, which is to get to the playoffs in year 1. So we need LSU to come in here and fight hard. And for Texas A&M, you need to get in here and prove that you can win early games on the road and win more games on the road. You haven't really had a lot of challenges under Mike Elko winning on the road, but I think this is going to be a big game, and it's early in the season, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Then we got Georgia playing at Ole Miss. This is going to be Ole Miss playing in back-to-back home games, so they don't have to travel at all. Georgia plays Florida the week prior in Atlanta, which just doesn't feel normal. It doesn't feel natural for that game to not be in Jacksonville, but it'll be back there soon, hopefully, as long as the renovations are done on time. This has Ole Miss playoff implications written all over it. And the reason that I say that is if they drop this game, they still have to play Louisville, LSU. They got to play at Florida, at Texas, at Oklahoma, and they can only drop 1, maybe 2 of those other games if we're really convinced that the committee is going to be looking at strength of schedule, strength of record, and put any of those good losses against a team like Texas or Oklahoma in their favor if they're 9-3. But if Ole Miss drops this game at home, I think they only have the ability to lose 1 of those other 5. So, really heavy playoff implications in this game for Ole Miss's sake. Georgia, they just want to make sure that they're staying hot on the road. Ole Miss does have the advantage of being back-to-back home games, though. Not traveling, really big advantage there. The last honorable mention that I want to cover here is Alabama at Tennessee, and that's mainly because Alabama hasn't won at Neyland Stadium since 2020. This is Kalen DeBoer's chance to go in there and finally get a win at Tennessee in his time at Alabama. Bama is going to be, this is kind of a schedule trap game, right? Alabama's going to be between playing Georgia and Texas A&M. They just got a game at Tennessee sandwiched right in between there. Tennessee, though, they come between playing Arkansas and South Carolina. So of the 3, this is going to be the pillar game for them. And for Alabama, of the 3, you could argue this is the lowest priority game. Now, if each team treats each week as its own week, like you're supposed to, none of that matters. But we all know you have your look-ahead games. You have your games where you came off a maybe an emotional win or an emotional loss for Alabama at Georgia or playing against Georgia. All of that affects how this game goes. And I'm really excited to see how that game rolls. Before we get into our top 5, the only thing I want to say, scroll down wherever you are on your phone, on your laptop. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video. If you enjoy this content, we're talking about SEC football. We're talking about it all year long. I got 3 videos a week coming for you. The goal right now, because this is a new show, is to get to 100 subscribers on YouTube by the beginning of the college football season. We're closing in on that. We're closing in on 60, maybe 70 right now by the time this video releases. So please subscribe. If you hate the content, you can always unsubscribe later, but it would really help us in getting to that goal. Now, let's get to the top 5 SEC games heading into the 2026 season. At number 5, I've got Texas A&M at South Carolina. This is late in the season, Week 10, November 7th. South Carolina in this game, they come off of their last 4 games playing Kentucky at home, at Florida, Tennessee at home, and then at Oklahoma. And then their next game after this is at Arkansas. If South Carolina can win, let's say 2 or 3 of those 4 games between Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, and Oklahoma prior to this game, when hosting Texas A&M, you know Columbia is going to be rocking. It's going to be full. It's going to be packed. And if South Carolina is rolling coming into that game, this is going to be a very fun environment, let's just say. For Texas A&M, though, they play at Bama 2 weeks prior, and they're coming off a bye week. So A&M gets the benefit of being well-rested. Again, they've played well on the road under Mike Elko. But this one is a pretty scary game for A&M if South Carolina is rolling. If they figure some things out, if they get their offensive line mainly to figure out how to pass block, how to run block, how to open up some rushing lanes, and that offense starts rolling, you know the South Carolina defense is going to be good. And you know the Texas A&M defense is going to be good, and defense should be able to travel. So, again, if South Carolina is rolling, this should be a fun and hard-fought game. If South Carolina by this time of year is 4-5, I think Texas A&M will easily be able to blow them out. Rolling on to the number 4 game that I'm looking forward to is going to be Florida at Auburn. And this is just the battle of the top-tier new coaches in the SEC. You get Alex Golesh coming up from South Florida. You got John Sumrall coming in from Tulane. Both teams are ecstatic about their head coaches. Both teams are ecstatic about what their offenses, what their teams are going to be looking like. You still got DJ Durkin over at Auburn and that amazing defense that he fielded last year, along with Alex Golesh bringing over Byron Brown and the offense that they had at USF last year. You've got John Sumrall essentially retaining a crazy amount of talent from last year with Florida and just bringing in a new and a fresh system that seems to be really, especially after listening to him at SEC Media Days, built on just discipline, doing what you're supposed to be doing every single day, being disciplined and just being tough and hard-nosed. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. It's early in the season. It's week 3, September 19th. Hopefully it doesn't overlap with that LSU Ole Miss game. Spoiler, that one's going to be coming later. But hopefully it doesn't overlap with that game so that we can watch them separately. I think this is going to be a fun one. I don't know if it necessarily matters all that much who wins as far as what the future projections of the programs are going to look like. But I think there's going to be a lot involved here in what these fan bases and these programs look at coming out of this game based on who got the better hire, whether it's fair or not. In the number 3 slot, we've got Georgia playing at Alabama. This is week 6, October 10th. Georgia comes off of home games against Oklahoma and Vanderbilt prior to this. Alabama comes off of playing at Kentucky versus Florida State at home against South Carolina, and at Mississippi State. Georgia playing against Oklahoma, although it is at home, is going to be a bigger test than any of those prior Bama games, I believe. Unless, Kentucky or South Carolina just somehow revives themselves compared to where they were last year, Oklahoma should be the toughest game in that mix. So Georgia's going to be more battle-tested. Alabama, thankfully, they're hosting Georgia this week, or else it would be really tough to have their toughest game be on the road for the first time. This one's just going to have heavy playoff implications mainly for Alabama. I think Georgia's got the schedule where even if they drop this game, they could still even drop another and make the playoffs, and they're going to be a consistent team. Alabama, this is an important game for you to try to win in order to get into the playoffs because you do have a slightly more difficult schedule. But really what this isn't Kalen DeBoer coaching for his job. This is Kalen DeBoer coaching for fan buy-in at Alabama. If you can keep it really close and your team was able to match Georgia's physicality, specifically at the line of scrimmage, the fans are going to be fine. But the biggest problem with Alabama over the last couple of years has been their physicality at the point of attack. And this is the prove-it game because this is the game that you're facing usually one of the most hard-nosed, toughest, and hardest-hitting teams in the league. So I don't think it matters all that much who wins this game. this is the game that Alabama fans are going to be looking at and want to make sure that Kalen DeBoer is fielding a team that is going to be as tough as it needs to be. Because if they are, then the rest of the season should pan out in their favor. They should be able to play good in those hard games. They probably should be able to make the playoffs, but this is more of a look forward to the future. Do we believe in Kalen DeBoer long term and his ability to put tough teams out on the field? Can I look forward to him and what's to come next year? That's a big question there. Because next year is going to be a big year for Alabama if all things stay glued together. All right, we're going to get into the top 2 games that we're looking forward to this year. And these 2 I think are pretty easy to be able to sniff out. Number 2 is going to be Oklahoma versus Texas. Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it. Week 6, October 10th. This one's going to have heavy playoff implications, mainly because, number 1, it's early in the year. But number 2, both of these teams could absolutely have a loss or 2 losses by this point in the year. So, heavy playoff implications. Both teams are also going to have better teams than they did last year. Arch Manning in his second year, all of the names around Arch Manning on that offense, including Cam Coleman, weapons that he has to be able to throw to, the Texas defense, a lot of those players come back. They're just going to be talented in all 22 positions, essentially. Still have question marks on the offensive line, seemingly, but those should be answered very early in the season, especially when you play a team like Ohio State. Oklahoma, on the other hand, they should be much improved from last year. You got John Mateer coming back. His hand's supposed to be completely healthy. You've got that defense, a lot of players that are returning, and essentially just a defensive line rotation that keeps pumping out NFL draft picks. So this should be a very fun game to watch. And whoever comes out of it with a win, if it's close, both teams will feel okay. You never want to lose to your rival. But this should be a close game. And whoever comes out with a win is going to be much better positioned to make a playoff. Because both teams have pretty dang hard schedules, if we're being honest. And very lastly, we've got number 1. How could you pick anything else? There is no game that is more being looked forward to than this game. I think on anybody or by anybody in the entirety of college football, not just the SEC. And that's LSU at Ole Miss in Week 3, September 19th, the return of Lane Kiffin to Ole Miss. The environment's going to be insane. The tailgating atmosphere is going to be insane. If you're an LSU fan and you're going to go tailgate over there, I pray for you. Because it's just going to be a very hostile environment. Let's say that. Both teams will be battle tested at this point. Ole Miss will have played Louisville. LSU would have played Clemson. Both of those games will be in Week 1. If both of the teams come out of that game with a win, then both teams are probably 2-0 coming into this game, and it's a battle of who's going to be getting their first loss. It also has very heavy playoff implications, because if either team drops this game, we already went through Ole Miss's schedule earlier and all the tough home and road games that they have. LSU's schedule is no cakewalk either. Whoever drops this game is going to have a much tougher time hitting that 10-2 mark in order to hit the playoffs. And I love the regular season. I know I've talked a lot about playoffs in this episode or in these walkthroughs. I love the regular season. We have the best regular season in all of sports in college football. But if we are talking about the goal of both of these teams being able to make the postseason, being able to make a run at the national championship, this game is going to have a lot to do with that. And really, this is a prove-it game for both teams, for both programs, right? Pete Golding and Ole Miss, they held on to Trinidad Chambliss. They held on to Kawan Lacey. They held on to some of their defensive players that maybe Lane Kiffin had wanted to be able to pull in. They've got some continuity on offense and how the scheme is going to be run. They've still got continuity on defense with Pete Golding calling the plays over there. This is going to be a prove-it game for them that Pete Golding is going to be able to field as good of a team as Lane Kiffin did and manage a game as well as Lane Kiffin did. Lane Kiffin, on the LSU side, this is a prove-it game for them to prove this was worth the transition. This was worth me taking all the backlash. It was worth me taking all of the heat and all the hate that I did, because if LSU comes out with a win, Lane Kiffin, I chose the right program. I chose the right school. They still have all the resources. They still have all the talent over there. And in 1 year, I turned this place around to come out with a win. And we're on our way to hopefully a playoff. So this is a prove-it game for them. I think it's going to be the most fun game. I just hope it holds up to the hype. Selfishly, being an LSU fan, you hope that they blow them out, but you also hope that it's a really good game and that you care to watch the third and fourth quarter. That wraps up our top 5 SEC games that we're looking forward to going into the 2026 season. What did I miss? What would you have put in here instead of the top 5 games that I had selected? If it includes any of the teams that I selected, what's the game that you would have replaced any of those with as well? Again, make sure you like the video, subscribe. We're on that road to 100 subscribers before the beginning of the season. Anything that you give us helps on that end. We really do appreciate the support, and we will catch you again whenever we post again on Sunday.